And Peter Dunov said there are different kinds of love. He said there are basically three. There's human love. And human love is a love that changes, and it's a love that varies. So this is a love that most of us know. It's, I love you, but not as much because it was Valentine's Day and my birthday, and now you forgot to get me this, and you came home late, and you did that, and so it changes, and it varies. I love you a lot today, not so much as yesterday. It's up and down, it changes. I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you. You're going. This is what we call human love, the love that we have become accustomed to. All right, and it's a love that I aspire to get past. He said the second kind of love is a love that's called spiritual love, and this is a love that never changes, but it does vary. This is the only way you can describe, the best way to describe this love is that the love you have for your child. I have 8 children, and it doesn't change. It's always there. I've got some that have done very disappointing things. There are some that have done wonderful things, and on, but it just doesn't change. It doesn't matter what they've done. You all know that, all of you who are parents, or even who had parents. So that pretty much includes everyone here. But it does vary. Not so much as yesterday. It's like, you're not following the rules, and you're disobeying this, and you're not dressing whatever it might be. And so it's a love that it varies. It's up and it's down. It's up and it's down, but it never changes. And then there's another kind of love. It's the love I aspire to live. It's a love called divine love. Divine love is a love that never changes. Divine love is a love that never varies. It's all there is. In the unveiled mysteries, the attitude of one who wishes to work in conscious cooperation with the ascended host should not be, I wish I could go to them for instructions, that is, go to the angels or to God or whatever and get instructions. But rather, I will so purify, discipline, and perfect myself, become such an expression of divine love myself, that the work that I do will automatically be drawn unto them. I will love so constantly, so infinitely, so divinely, that the very intensity of my own light will open the way for them to accept me. That is, you have to love the way God loves us. The great poet Hafiz said, even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Just think what a love like that can do. It lights up the whole world. This is a different kind of love than human love and spiritual love. This is a love that is what we are. It's a love that you will experience when you leave this body. It's a love that in the Bhagavad Gita they talk about combining the opposites, transcending the dichotomies, bringing oneness. Oneness is a concept that we cannot know as human beings other than when we are in silence. Because God's one and only voice is silence. It's only through meditation that you can even approach this. Because everything in the physical plane has a duality, has an opposite. If I said to you, what's the opposite of joy? You would say, sadness, sorrow, depression, whatever. If I ask you to imagine joy that has no opposite, that's all there is. If I ask you, what's the opposite of love? You might say fear, you might say hate, you might say rage, whatever. But if I ask you, imagine a love that has no opposite, You will know that when you take your last breath. When I read the poem from Hafiz at the end, you will know that. I aspire to it now. It's like, how do you get to a place where there is no opposites? Let's just say you lived on the sun, right smack on the sun, okay? Would you ever have a concept of darkness? Because the opposite of light is what? Dark, right? But on the sun, would you ever have an experience of darkness? Why? Because when you are with the source of all light, there is no opposite. There's only light. When you are with the source of love, which is God, or divine mind, or the Tao. In the Tao, they say, the opening line of the Tao says, the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. So the minute you name it, you've lost it, because now you have the name and the thing, that's two-ness.
It's important to understand that each and every one of us represents God or Spirit, revealing itself here and now on our planet. So in what direction are you moving? Being in spirit is a direction we take rather than a destination to be reached. Living our life in spirit requires us to determine that direction, and we do so by noticing our thoughts and our behaviors. Thoughts that are in spirit reflect a vibrational alignment moving us toward our ultimate calling. And obviously, this is the direction we want to take. Once we begin to observe our thoughts, we realize that there are many times we're going in the opposite direction. When we catch ourselves with conscious effort, we can make a U-turn with new thoughts. For example, blaming something we call evil is thinking in the wrong direction. When we see things in our world that we label evil, what we're really seeing are people moving away from their source, not individuals in the grip of an evil power. To become inspired on a daily basis, we must be able to quickly identify any thoughts that are moving us away from our source and then shift the direction. We need to bring love to the presence of hatred, as St. Francis advised. When we're consumed with thoughts we've labeled as evil, we need to notice that we're headed in the wrong direction. It's difficult to comprehend because we're accustomed to blaming our problems on external forces, such as evil or hatred, but we know better. We can make that U-turn by using the same energy within us that has us traveling away from God. Evil, hatred, fear, and even illness soften with love and kindness when we're in spirit. When we make that U-turn, we make an alignment correction and move back into the space of spirit in our thoughts and actions. A Course in Miracles quotes Jesus as saying, "If you want to be like me, I will help you, knowing that we are alike. If you want to be different, I will wait until you change your mind." Being inspired is truly being like your source. If you're not, then your source is politely waiting for you to do something as simple as change your mind. All bodies emerge from the soul and return to it. The visible emerges from the invisible, is controlled by it, and returns to it. That's a quotation from Lao Russell. This is clearly a purposeful universe with an intelligence supporting its creation and continuing evolution. And we're pieces of that intelligence by virtue of having emerged from it. Consider, for example, that scientific analysis of even a droplet of blood reveals all of the characteristics in our entire body's supply. The percentage of iron in that droplet is proportionately the same as in that which flows through our entire body. So it's easy to agree that the drop of blood is identical to the source from which it was removed. Now think about what happens to that droplet of blood when it remains in the state of separation. It can't fortify or heal us, and it can't circulate freely. Disconnected from its source long enough, it will simply dry up, decay, and disintegrate, even though it contains all of the physical properties necessary to survive that its original source does. I believe that our transition from spiritual source to physical beings made up of particles is similar to that bit of blood in that we contain all of the same properties as our source. But unlike that droplet, we're never completely separated from our source. I know that there are no accidents in a universe directed by a source energy that creates endless real magic in the form of its creations. I know that we agreed to move from the world of spirit into the world of particles and form, to come forth at the exact time that we did, and to leave when we've agreed to do so. I also know that we decided to bring joyful perfection to this world and to share that godlike energy with everyone we encounter here on earth.
What I suggest is that you know that every step along the way that you're making, along the path, all the obstacles, all the things that you're going through at this moment, that what you do is you start to process them a little bit differently. And process them not in terms of why do I have to do this and why isn't my life working out or why are things so negative and so on, but process it a little differently in that, why am I choosing this? Why am I participating in this now? What do I have to get out of this? What is the lesson in it for me? And as you do that, you find yourself moving more and more towards the gate. And then when you come up to the gate, you just sort of slam it shut behind you and you never look back again. And that's when you know that you're not alone. That's when you know that for whatever help that you are looking for or whatever guidance you're seeking or whatever road you want to travel, that there's another world other than the world of the five senses. And whatever it is that you will need to be able to accomplish what it is that you're here for, what your purpose is, what you're about, is going to be instantaneously and readily and easily available to you the minute that you allow yourself to go through that gate.
To change the thought from notice me, to what Lao Tzu calls living in obscurity, becoming more obscure. We live in a celebrity-obsessed world, don't we? Look at me. Notice me. The Tao teaches something completely the opposite. Listen to the 66th verse of the Tao. Water again. The sea stays low. And because the sea stays low, all of the rivers and all of the streams empty into it. Because it stays humble, because it stays in that place of just allowing everything to come to you. He was trying to teach us the important lesson of letting what we know is coming come to us. Verse 66 of the Tao. Why is the sea king of 100 streams? Because it lies below them. Humility gives it its power. That's a very important principle to understand, and I live on the ocean, right next to it. It's my front yard. And always I watch it to learn something from this thing called the ocean, which is the most powerful source of life that we have on the planet. Without it, there's no life on this planet. And because it stays low, so what does this have to say to us? Do you have the capacity to get past that ego need to always be saying, notice me, look how important I am? I mean, there's been a proliferation of this lately with this celebrity silly stuff, isn't it? I mean, CNN is doing, full hour shows on silly little things about what happened to this particular celebrity or what happened to that celebrity, and the celebrity's never even done anything. And there's all of this talk about, and all of the new magazines. I mean, and you go through an airport and you look on the newsstand and all the same photos, just with different magazines. I don't even know what the names of all of them are, but there's like this huge market now that we have for people to get into a state of notice me, notice me, notice me. And how much do we train our young people, particularly in our schools and so on, that the one who is the star is the one who gets the most attention. The one who is the most important and the most valuable is the one that has the most people liking them and so on. This constant obsession with needing to be noticed. When in fact, what I have found for myself is the happiest moments of my life are when I can do it low and slow and not have anybody out there even know what I'm doing. To be able to, Louise never would have advertised the fact of some of the things I talk about with her generosity. She does it anonymously. It's almost always done in those ways. No, look at me, look and notice me, how important I am, and so on. So much to learn from that kind of wisdom, from that kind of
inner connection to the Tao, the ability and the willingness to do it anonymously. To say that you can just get done almost anything that you want to get done if you don't become obsessed with taking credit for it. In the 36th verse of the Tao Te Ching, it says, "The gentle outlast the strong. The obscure outlast the obvious." Try to become a little more obscure, a little less interfering, a little less notice me. A little less, one of the specific kinds of things that you can do is just as you're about, when somebody else is talking, just as you're about to interject what you've been thinking about for the whole time, waiting for them to stop talking, just stop, to bite your tongue and say, "Tell me more." Or, "That's very interesting. I have never heard that point of view before." Even if they totally, completely disagree with everything that you stand for, to be willing to listen, to be able to stop. Practice it. I practiced it when I did these verses of the Tao. I practiced it every single day while I was working on that. Just staying obscure. And for me, that's not always so easy because of just being recognized wherever I go. And if I saw someone who was about to recognize me, I would just put my head down. I would just walk a little bit past them like something. Right now, I just want to be anonymous. Right now, I want to be obscure. The Tao says, "Storms always end." Verse 23, "Fierce winds don't blow all morning. A downpour of rain doesn't last all day." Who does this? Heaven and earth. You're already connected to everything you want or need. It will come to you at the exact perfect time, as the rivers and the streams come to the ocean at the perfect time and place. You gotta trust. You gotta know it's going to come to you. You don't have to chase after it. You can become a little less obsessed with your ego and your self-importance and who you are and what you've done, and you can get so much more done. And you know what? It's the most peaceful and sweet, delicious way. It's like the song that Cecilia was singing about the rose. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
So if we begin to shift our statements, the statements first of all that we say to ourselves, and then the statements that we say because and so what I want everybody who's listening today to do is to take a look at all of the things in your life that you don't like, that aren't working the way you would like them to work, whether it's in your relationships, whether it's financial, whether it's with your health, whether with your job, with your friendships, or whatever it might be. And instead of saying, and when you ask yourself, now how did it come to be this way, kind of go back and go all the way back as far as you can go to even being a young boy or a young girl, and how many times have you heard or said the words that were predictive of this showing up in your life, and then get to a place where you start to change that around, and you have not only a different set of expectations, but a different way of making decrees, so that you decree that things are going to work out, that your prosperity is on its way, that your relationship is going to improve, that your health is something that you have control over. I'll give you an example of this, and then we'll open up to the phones. My daughter Serena is here, who's written a book called "Don't Die with Your Music Still in You." It's a book that I give out on the show to people who call in, my experience growing up with spiritual parents. And she has a new little baby. Her baby's name is Sailor, and Sailor is 3 months old. Now, Sailor has something called acid reflux, so that her stomach, so when she's nursing or when she gets her bottle or whatever it is, she starts throwing up a lot. Now, my daughter Serena has had this her entire lifetime, from the time that she was a little girl, and her mother, my wife, also had that when she was a young girl. It's this thing called acid reflux, okay? And they have little prescriptions for it, Prilosec and things like that people take. It's sort of predictive of what Serena has experienced for herself in her whole life. So I said to her yesterday, I said, honey, do you realize that that little baby who came out of you shares your DNA and shares your blood and is as, just because the cord has been cut, but is just as connected to you, spiritually and metaphysically and mentally, is just as connected to you as if she were inside of your womb. And that you had this experience yourself, and rather than already setting up this decree that Taylor's going to have this, is just something she's going to have to struggle with. My mother had it. She has, I had it, and now she's going to have it. I said, you have the capacity to communicate with her and begin to program into her subconscious mind from the time that and every time you look at her and see her, she can, when you look at her, she looks at you different than anybody else because you're her mother, and she looks into your eyes and all that. And instead of telling her that you have acid reflux and I'm really sorry, I'm going to give you more milk than you need and you're going to have this for a lifetime, I said, you have the power to heal this. To put your hand on her stomach and on her throat, and when she's taking this, instead of convincing yourself that this child is going to have this for a lifetime, I want you to begin to just say to yourself, I can heal this for you, honey, and talk to her like this. And I put my hand on her stomach and I said, you're such a sweet baby, and you don't have to have this throwing up stuff, and you don't have anything called acid reflux. You're perfectly healthy. You're a divine creation. You are perfect. Mommy's going to be here for you and show you exactly how to deal with this, and start programming her subconscious mind right now, so that when words do begin to develop within her, and she speaks first in words and then in sentences, what you're going to say is that you don't have this. This is just this is just a minor little obstacle, and it's not anything that's going to dominate your life. And and read your sister's book, Goodbye Bumps, because she was able to do the very same thing by shifting her consciousness around. So we get programmed from the time that we're little, about what we can do and what we can't do, how fast we can run, how much we can lift, how athletic that we are, how good we are at mathematics, how, whether or not we're coordinated, whether we can dance, whether we can do a headstand, whether we get, it's just almost every few minutes of our life, there are these decrees coming out of us, and you don't want to have any decree coming out of you that isn't predictive of what you would like to attract and create for yourself, versus a decree that says, it's going to be difficult, I can't make it happen, my luck is never going to work out, I've been sick, this runs in our family, my mother had it, my grandmother had it, and on and on and on and on it goes.